Let's discuss this further with Stefano Pontecorvo, who joins me now from Rome. He's a former NATO senior civilian representative to Afghanistan. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You know, it was just a couple short years ago that within NATO, there was this big argument over how much each country should contribute to the collective defense. Not very many people wanted to contribute anything more. And now here we are. Does this represent a fundamental change in readiness? And is it enough?
It absolutely does. No, it is not enough. And the battle groups, which and your correspondent was spot on. Your battle groups just go to show that it wasn't enough. It isn't enough, because what we're seeing here is military and political solidarity by the alliance, which translates into the bigger and more prepared countries who take on tasks of defending smaller countries and countries with militaries who are less prepared. So actually, to answering your question, it's not enough, it's not yet enough, and it is certainly a turning point.
And of course, oh, go ahead, Stefano.
Oh, from an internal political point of view, it is understandable, although it's suicidal. It's understandable to want to fund hospitals, schools, social security, rather than the military. And but now I'm afraid that Mr. Putin has set the record straight and has showed us that we are no longer able to do that.
And Vladimir Putin is not just saber rattling, he is nuclear bomb rattling. So it, of course, makes sense that a defensive alliance would then boost its defense. But given what's happening right now, does increasing the number of troops there make the prospect of a wider war more likely or less likely?
I think it makes it less likely, because first of all, the troops, we have about 50,000 troops permanently stationed in as under the enhanced forward presence, it's called, which then translates into the battle groups. But the numbers are kept low,
right,
quite low, because we do not want, and NATO does not want to give any excuse to the Russians and, seem as if we're amassing troops at the Russian frontier and are entering the war. I must say that the U.S. and the NATO military and everybody else, with a few notable exceptions, are very, very careful to state the fact that NATO is not and will not get involved in the war.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you mentioned the size of these battle groups. I think that's really interesting, because when you hear that NATO is collectively creating 8 new battle groups on its eastern flank, you think, whoa. But then you see that each one contains up to 1,000 troops. So given the fact that at this point, virtually anything could be perceived by Vladimir Putin as a provocation, how does NATO know where to draw that line?
Well, look, NATO has an attitude which is independent from Vladimir Putin's rhetoric. Communication and rhetoric are a battlefield asset, as we have seen. I've seen it in Afghanistan. You see it everywhere. So whatever Putin says is not necessarily what he will do, although he sticks pretty much to his guns and to his words. But NATO knows one thing: it cannot be drawn into the conflict. Yeah, and that's a bottom line. So whatever Putin says, he can say whatever he wants. I think that in Brussels they're a lot wiser than Putin makes them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because we have seen the power of Western intelligence even in the lead up to this war. Stefano Pontecorvo, excellent to talk to you.
It's always good to be on your program. Thanks a lot.